My name is James Rawle. I'm the Executive Chairman of LASCO Manufacturing and LASCO Distributors Limited. I also hold operational responsibilities Director for LASCO Manufacturing.
My name is Martel Lee, Managing Director of ADB Consultants. We have been for many years the Chief Engineer and Design Project Management for LASCO, starting I think 2011. We have been involved with all the projects here and elsewhere, the planning, working with the LASCO team for planning, development and implementation.
LASCO is a major player in the Jamaican market scene, and we have always been concerned about sustainability, climate change, our carbon footprint. So for several years we've been talking about going solar to the extent that we can power the operations by renewable energy. In order, one, to reduce our carbon footprint, that is essential. And there are economic benefits to be derived from it. You may know that electricity in Jamaica is on the expensive side. In fact, it's one of the factors that I believe strongly is limiting our capacity to manufacture competitively. And the economic benefit of going solar renewable is that it will give us a lower charge for the energy, and hopefully we can pass it on to the consumer.
There were elements of it which were costs. Costs were attached to it. Feasibility then cost, and deferred mainly because of the cost of implementation. But solar has been coming down, and I think there has been discussions with the chairman and the joint understanding that they could facilitate research and implementation of solar at the same time. And we were called in to look at this as part of the team.
The sustainability aspect is very important. We have to be responsible corporate citizens. We have to do the right thing, not only for the shareholders, not only for the consumers, but for the planet, for the environment. And so environmental, social, and governance principles are very important to us. And that's why we had been discussing for a long time to get into renewable energies. I may tell you that we're still using some carbon-based sources of energies. For example, all our forklifts are basically powered by LPG. The boiler is powered by LPG. So wherever we can eliminate heavy fuel and heavy pollutants, we do. So building the operations based on renewables to the extent that it can be was always a priority for us for these reasons. We're talking to various suppliers, and we actually had quotation from several suppliers to solarize, let's say, the operation. And in about 2000, at the beginning of 2000, we were contacted by Professor Anthony Chen from the University of the West Indies, who had an interest in renewables, and he was working with USAID on some project called something to do with energy resilience, and the university was involved with that project. So I remember we said to him that they were looking at private sector partner. Some of the project would be funded by the USAID, but they were looking at major private sector partner, and we agreed to enter into that collaboration with the University of the West Indies and USAID. USAID provided funding for a very important component of the project, and LASCO funded the rest of the project. An interesting thing about the project, it was positioned as a pilot plant, a pilot project, but it has been functioning for the past year as an economic project, which means the pilot is successful and it can serve as a model to roll this out. The project was PV system with battery storage. And at the time it was conceived, it was the largest PV system with battery storage in Jamaica. I don't know if that still holds, but a unique feature is that we have battery storage, and that component was partially funded by the United States Agency for Development, USAID. And that's how this project came about. That was in 2020 it was conceived. We launched the project, I think, at the beginning of 2021, and then COVID intervened, and that slowed down everything. Finally, we're completed because the imported component is very high. We imported component. I'll talk about that because that is where REDIS came in from all over the world. Finally, it was commissioned, and we had the launch ceremony in April last year. And since then, the plant has been running and providing valuable energy to the operation. Interesting, but we had quotation from a number of commercial operations in Jamaica to build up a renewable based on solar system in the plant. And when we started collaborating with University of the West Indies and USAID, Professor Chen in particular, and it's not only Professor Chen, it's the physics department of the University of the West Indies, mentioned that there is a guy who has a company and he's a graduate of the university. Incidentally, I'm also a graduate of that university. Same one, the one up the road, Mona. Still a great institution, right? And he has a company and he's specializing in exactly what we're talking about. So we had to do our due diligence. I accepted what Prof said, but we had to assure ourselves that REDIS had the capacity and the capability to execute this project. It's a major project, And they said a while ago, it's the largest project of its kind, that is with battery storage in Jamaica at the time, So we did our research and the feedback was favorable, so REDIS was contracted. And they were the main executing arm of the project. And the project is by no means a small one. I think we have something of the order of 980 PV panels on some, is it about 27,000 meters square building they installed that. The project includes inverters, apart from the panels, inverters, transformers, the batteries, as I said before. REDIS took the job on and was responsible for ordering maybe 90% of the equipment, with the exception of the batteries. We had to order that directly from the States. But everything else was essentially ordered by REDIS. And REDIS executed the project within the prescribed time frame once the equipment arrived, after lengthy delays due to COVID. Commissioned the plant, and as I said before, it has been working well. So what I'm telling you is that basically they have proven themselves. I think it was also the largest project for REDIS at the time, but we had implicit faith in the company that the guys knew what they were doing and that they would deliver according to spec and on time. We asked around on interviews. We had several meetings, and my project manager was Martel Lee. You'll speak to Martel, but I'm also a technical guy.
Specifically with REDIS, we would take no one at face value, and we have done our evaluation on behalf of LASCO.
So you listen to the guy who is leading REDIS, who is Kevin Mills. He knows what he's talking about. Simple as that. So apart from checking around on jobs they may have done, is really face-to-face with this provider to see whether they have a grasp of the issues, the technical issues, and the capacity to think through problems, and come up with solutions.
Not only did he meet the expectation, but his level of energy was high enough to know that the momentum will keep us going when the crunch time comes up.
So that was it. That personal interview and grilling, I can call it grilling.
Based on our projections, things work out very well. And he hasn't at any point did not meet our expectation.
We're concerned about our carbon footprint and sustainability, and we ought to be doing good for the planet. Well, from the data I'm seeing, it tracks, for example, the amount of CO2 emission we have saved, and it is significant. So we're doing our part in reducing CO2 emission, and that's positive for the climate. On the economic front, our electricity charges have gone down, and that's interesting because from that point it's no longer a pilot project, it's delivering returns. So those are the two critical factors. And the third thing is that we feel good that we're involved in a project that demonstrates to people that this is a viable alternative. But to do good for the environment is a major part of our remit. There's no point in talking about doing good for profits and then you're destroying the environment. I'm a scientist by training, and that's important to us.